Get excited, baseball fans. The MLB returns tomorrow after a star-studded all-star week for the ages. But now it's time to get back to work. Teams trying to push towards the playoff. The wild card races are starting to heat up. So let's get a temperature check with our crew as you take a look at the latest CBS Sports Power Rankings. It is the Tigers on top, followed by the Dodgers and the Cubs at 3. Let's welcome the best duo in baseball. We've got our former GM, Jim Bowden, and our ace analyst in Matt Snyder. Matt, we're going to get started at the top with Detroit, earning top honors in our first post-All-Star Power Ranking. Say that 3 times fast. We know the Tigers were well represented in Atlanta, so they returned from the All-Star break with the best record in baseball, 11.5 games clear of the Twins in the AL Central. So, Matt, no surprise they come here on top. How far is the separation, though, from maybe like 1 through the top 5?
Oh, it's all really close. And really, it seems weird to put a team first when they've lost 4 games in a row heading into the break. But I thought, look, the Astros, who had won last week, got their teeth kicked in all week. The Dodgers had just come off a 7-game losing streak. And then the Cubs won their last 2 games before that. They had lost 3 or 4. They lost a series in Minnesota. So there were several very, very good teams toward the top of the rankings here that were kind of needing to lick their wounds a little bit over the All-Star break. And that's a good opportunity to kind of hit the refresh button here and just say, all right, we lost 4 in a row, but that's not that big of a deal. We still have the best record in baseball. They still have a very, very good, well-rounded team. That's a good offense, a good rotation at the top with 2 all-star starting pitchers, a very good lineup, and a deep bullpen, and who I think it might be the best manager in baseball right now in A.J. Hinch. So a lot to like about the Tigers, other than how the pitchers looked in the All-Star game, apparently, as we see that graphic on the screen. But they were well represented in the All-Star game with good reason. And like I said, best record in baseball at the All-Star break for the first time since 2006. Still on pace for their best record since 1984. So everything looks like it's special right now in Detroit. They
got to be careful, though, because the Dodgers also very good and closing in there at number 2. We go to number 3 next. That's where we find the Chicago Cubs, who sit at 57-39. That is their best record at the break since 2016. And we know, guys, they went on to win the World Series that year. Matt, do you see it trending that way for the Cubs in 25, or what do you think about them here at number 3?
Well, they need to shore up a few things. They need a starting pitcher, as they have ever since Justin Steele went down. I expect they'll get one here in the next few weeks before the trade deadline, and it looks like now they need a third baseman. It doesn't seem like Matt Shaw is going to work this year. John Birdie and Vidal Brujan have been playing some third base as well. That's not a long-term solution for a team that wants to win the World Series. So it's time to quit messing around here, and Jed Hoyer knows that. This is the last year of his contract, so he's still in a lame duck situation. I believe he will try to make moves to get, as I said, a third baseman and a starting pitcher at least, maybe another bullpen arm or 2. But look, this offense might well be better than the 2016 offense. It's more consistent. It's deeper. I know it doesn't have quite the cachet that I think that they thought they had in 2016 with Brizzo there and everything like that. But it's a very, very good team. They just need to shore up 2 holes.
They will get their second half started against the Red Sox, a 3-game set beginning tomorrow. We're going to talk about them in a minute. A little deep tease there. But, Jim, I want to talk to you about the Astros because they are rounding out the top 5. Kind of feels like a miracle when you think about all the injuries they dealt with in the first half of the season. How should the Astros be feeling going into the second half, knowing where they've come out, dealing with the adversity that they did?
Yeah, that's a great point, Haley. And that's, of course, also after trading Kyle Tucker and losing Alex Bregman in free agency. I mean, they're in a really good place, right? They're in first place. They have a 5-game lead over the Seattle Mariners. Their record is 56-40. And with all the injuries they've had, to be sitting where they are, they're in a really strong place. Now, I talked to Dana Brown, the general manager of the Houston Astros, about an hour ago. I asked him about all the injured players and when they're coming back and who is the closest. He told me that Chas McCormick, the center fielder, has a chance to be reinstated tomorrow in Seattle. He's coming back from that strained oblique. He said the first pitcher back off the injured list will be Spencer Arrighetti. He said he is starting his rehab this week, coming back from that fractured thumb. And then eventually Christian Javier, Luis Garcia, and J.P. France will be coming down. They are throwing right now in Florida, in Palm Beach, on their way back. Now, I asked him about their superstar, Yordan Alvarez. He told me that he was going to test his hand today. If all goes well, they'll go ahead and progress with him. Of course, he's going to be a key going down the stretch. I asked him about Jeremy Pena, who I just saw at the All-Star game, and talked to him. And when I talked to Jeremy, he didn't have a timetable. When I asked Dana about it, he said, yeah, no timetable as of now. We're going to keep watching it. So that's interesting. I also asked Dana what they were looking for at the trade deadline. He was very clear and concise. They're looking for a left-handed hitter or a starting pitcher. And oh, by the way, they want to go big with one of those guys. They don't have to do both, but they want to do one or the other. And if they can't find a starter, and they end up going with a reliever, they're okay with that because they feel like they have enough starters. If they sign a starter, they'll put one of their starters in the bullpen, decide the bullpen situation. So a left-handed bat and one pitcher, preferably a starter, is what they're looking to do.
All right, good things to keep our eye on with that deadline coming up at the end of the month. You mentioned it there, Jim. They get a 3-game set started with the Mariners tomorrow night. So let's move down to number 10. It seems to be the lucky number out in Boston. I said we were going to talk about the Red Sox, so let's do it now. They come in at number 10 after a 10-game winning streak. It kind of felt like, Matt, that the All-Star break came at a bad time for them because of all of that momentum. So as they go into the second half of the season, how do they pick up where they left off?
Yeah, I think it probably did hurt them because they're in such a groove now. Baseball's an everyday sport when you're in rhythm, and now they break it up and they have to take 4 days off. Look, hey, I was fired up about this winning streak because I thought my prediction of the Red Sox to win the AL East was dead and buried all the way back like 6 weeks ago. All of a sudden, they're only 3 out. They're only 2 behind they're only 1 behind the Yankees, actually. The Yankees are 2 out. They're 3 out. Look, Garrett Crochet, Brian Bayo, Lucas Giolito look like a very good top the rotation. Walker Buehler's probably capable of better. They got Alex Bregman back in the lineup. Roman Anthony's up, getting some experience now, so it looks like the lineup could be really good. Duran Duran should be better as well in the second half. Maybe not as good as he was last year. That was his career year, but still, he could be better. It looks like they could be good offensively, and I think that the front office is eager to make a splash in front of the trade deadline. Since they traded Rafael Devers, I think they have an opportunity to prove here, Craig Breslow and the rest of his front office execs, to the fan base, hey, when we traded Rafael Devers, it wasn't because we're sellers. It was because we think he's a bad fit here, and we wanted to move on from him. So this is their opportunity to show the fans, hey, we are going to go for it with this group. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But, yeah, I do think that the All-Star break came at a bad time for them.
It'll be interesting to see where the Red Sox end this year to that point, Matt, because a lot of people were upset about that Devers trade. And so hope maybe if some positivity comes at the end of the season, fans will feel a little better. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's go to number 14, Jim, where we find your Cincinnati Reds. Some big praise for the manager, Terry Francona, who recently earned his 2,000th career win earlier this year. And right now he's got the Reds sitting within striking distance of a wild card spot, just 2.5 games back there, Jim. How much do you believe in your Cincinnati Reds right now?
Well, look, I think under Terry Francona, they're going to compete, and I think they'll stay in the wild card race the whole year. I don't think they're good enough to catch the Cubs or the Brewers at this point, in my opinion. But they are 50-47. They're 3 games over 500, and although they're 7.5 out of first, as you mentioned, 2.5 in the wild card. I love the starting pitching, right? I just talked to Andrew Abbott at the All-Star game representing them. He pitched well in the All-Star game. Combine him with Nick Lodolo and Brady Singer, Nick Martinez, and the rookie Chase Burns. The rotation's in a good spot. And at some point, they're going to get Hunter Green back. He's got that right groin injury. I texted with Terry Francona on Sunday. There's really no timetable. He had a little bit of a setback in Arizona trying to rehab back. But he may be the key piece down the stretch. Now, the one thing that's obvious with this team is they need another big bat. And whether it be in the corner outfield or DH or even first base, they have some flexibility where the bat comes from. But I think it's really important that team president Nick Kroll and GM Brad Meter make a deal at the deadline. And whether it's for Ryan O'Hearn of the Orioles or Marcell Ozuna of the Braves or Lewis Robert of the White Sox, I just think it's important they find a way to get one more bat to give this team a chance. I think it's a borderline playoff team, but they certainly have the pitching at least to get there.
So we go from a team that could have a chance to a team that's got a lot of work to do if they're going to have a chance. Of course, talking about the roller coaster season in Cleveland, Jim, who come in at number 22 in this week's Power Rankings. Guardians have kind of steadied the ship a little bit. They went on a 10-game losing streak, but then they finished the first half of the season winning 6 of their last 7. So what will it take for this team, Jim, to get back in that wild card conversation, or is it just too far gone for the Guardians?
I mean, look, they're close enough, right? They're 4.5 out in the wild card, but they'd have to jump 6 teams, and they're 3 games under 500. And quite frankly, to me, they don't look like a playoff team. Their pitching is 18th in the sport in ERA and 26 in runs scored out of 30 teams and 20th in home runs out of 30 teams. I mean, they missed the right side of the infield. In the offseason, they traded Josh Naylor to Arizona. They traded Andres Jimenez to Toronto, and those were two key pieces. And so, you know, how do you rebound from that? Well, what I'm being told from opposing GMs is they are shopping Emmanuel Clase right now, their impact closer. They feel like Cade Smith could take over if they did move him. They're talking about moving on from Carlos Santana, the veteran that's kissing 40 years old right now, but still has some pop left. And they're even listening on Stephen Kwan that they're not intending to move the All-Star, but they will listen on him. They're looking for power bats. They're looking for controllable young position players to really build that lineup back, and they prefer guys that are non-arbitration eligible. So those are the kind of deals, you know, I think they're going to sell. I don't see a scenario where they're going to buy. I think the one bit of good news they're having right now is that Shane Bieber is doing well in his recovery from Tommy John. He's already had a rehab start, and they are expecting him back in the first 2 weeks of August. But I just don't think they have enough offense to get back in the race, if you're asking my opinion. So I think trading at the deadline and trying to reset a little bit makes the most sense for them.
Different paths for different teams. We'll have to see how it all shakes out with the second half beginning tomorrow, guys. We appreciate the time. The Fall Classic will be here before you know it. Here's a look at the odds to win the World Series. No surprise, the Dodgers still topping that list. They are like a million games ahead of everybody else, despite a slower start to the end of the first half. But don't count out the Tigers. They come in at plus 700. We mentioned the Cubs as well. Matt Snyder has them at number 3. They've got 13-1 odds to win the Fall Classic.